So if we're sitting here and we're discussing political views and different traditions, and if you have Catholicism on kind of one place here on the spectrum, where would be the other side of the spectrum?
Sure, the other side of the spectrum would probably be the Anabaptist tradition. And this is a tradition, might be helpful just to sort of remind ourselves, it has the term Baptist in it. Our modern Baptists, sometimes called the regular Baptists, but modern Baptists in the United States have some similar beliefs and perhaps some similar roots, but they're really kind of in a different place in the Anabaptist tradition. The Anabaptist tradition is a tradition that goes back to radical reformers in the Netherlands and other places in the 1600s who are breaking away from the state church, and they're very concerned about believers' baptism. So Anabaptist, after baptizers, and they say, we think it's important that individuals make a choice to join the church. And so they're breaking away. The problem is they're breaking away from the church, and because of the laws at the time and anti-heresy laws, what they were saying was seen as heresy. And so Anabaptists were often killed for their beliefs. So this is a tradition that starts in persecution and is built in persecution from other Christians, which is a very sad part of their history. But you can imagine that affects their view of politics.
Yeah.
So if you're worried about individual freedom of conscience, if you're worried about religious freedom, and you're seeing government encroaching on that, separation of church and state is one of the things that we're going to see from this tradition. Very concerned that the church is able to be the church, that members of the church can have their Christian witness, that they can believe what they want, and that the state is not going to punish them for their beliefs. They also, in this tradition, very much emphasize the importance of the Christian community as a witness. And so you step back from the state and you're a witness by living a life following Christ, and that life is going to look different and people are going to see that witness. Another hallmark of this tradition that sets it apart from the others is a commitment to pacifism and nonviolence. Most Anabaptists are going to advocate for nonviolence, and so this is going to be very complicated in a world like our modern world, where we see armies and violence and war and battles all the time, where government dollars are going to pay for the Department of Defense, are going to pay for a standing army, and Anabaptists are going to be concerned about the violence that's behind international relations, and they're also going to be concerned about, in some ways, the violence that's inherent in laws. If you break a law, what happens? We may take away your freedom and put you in prison. There's kind of a sense of there's a sword behind our laws.
Yeah, that's helpful. Can you again give us a strength and perhaps a possible weakness within this tradition?
You know, one strength of this tradition, I think, is this community aspect, this idea of we are a witness to the Christian faith to the outside world. We don't have to be involved in politics all the time. We don't have to be so busy in the public square, because we need to live faithful lives before God. Others will see that and it will point them to Christ. We can share the gospel by living out Christian lives. I think that's a beautiful reminder from this tradition. That's something all of us can learn from. At the same time, in modern politics, a position of pacifism is just a very, very difficult position to hold. We don't have an example of a country that holds pure pacifism. So we work in a world in which every country has some form of army, where we try to work things out peacefully, but there's always that recognition that military might may be a part of it. And so it's difficult, I think, to have a tradition that speaks of something that we just haven't seen sustained in modern life. The Anabaptists will counter, well, we haven't tried it, we need to try it. And there are important peace movements, but I think ultimately that commitment to pacifism is complicated in our world.